It's a big result for Barcelona against a team, as Gemma mentioned, who's been defensively extremely solid so far this season. No Busquets, no Dembele, no Rafinha. Is this kind of a bit of a way forward?
I think so. And the transition away from Busquets, it's going to be difficult and tricky for Xavi. But I think that has begun. And when you see Frenkie de Jong playing today, there are a couple of things that he brings to that position that Busquets right now at this point in his career simply cannot do. There were a couple of moments in which Frenkie de Jong found himself in trouble, and he was able to run out of that pressure. Not just pass out of that pressure, but run out of that pressure, dribbling with the ball in his feet. Usually that's not something that Busquets would do. Certainly doesn't feel comfortable doing it, and physically simply cannot. And then the other thing that I thought was important today was to see the performance from Pedri. I was critical of Pedri in El Clásico, and it's hard for me to be critical of Pedri. I was critical because he too many times took the easy pass, the safest pass, the one that is sideways and back. And I think he has to do more for Barcelona in the attacking half. And what we saw from him today in this first goal is that penetrating pass, that vertical pass. And in the second goal, just as importantly, it is a sliding challenge from Pedri that wins possession back for Barcelona. So you have players in Gavi, Pedri, Frenkie de Jong that have more energy, more intensity through the midfield, allows Barcelona to win the ball back in good areas. And because now you have that sort of intensity and urgency into the attacking half, I think it translates into better chances, more opportunities for Lewandowski, and usually that translates into more goals. I thought it was a solid performance from Barcelona, and in the midfield in particular, you saw the stark difference between what Busquets can do right now in his career and what De Jong can do at this point for Barcelona.
Do you agree, Robbo?
Absolutely. You know, in the commentary I was talking about Frenkie de Jong and how well he was playing. And again, Ali's absolutely right. Rather than pass his way out of trouble, a couple of times he stepped past the challenge and then drove into midfield. And I've got to say, the crowd were right behind him. Every time he did something that was half decent, there was a roar from the crowd. They obviously want to see the best of Frenkie de Jong. They want to get him in the side. And I thought he was absolutely excellent. And I hope he plays in that position for the next few weeks.
Gemma, what a change this is now from Barcelona. Obviously, we saw Jordi Alba play today. Piqué passed it. Busquets looking like that he is very much on his last legs as well. How much are the fans appreciating the fact that Xavi needs to bring in new blood?
Well, they did today, and actually they show it with in the bad way with whistles. There were some whistles for Busquets. I'm going to say it was just a few ones, and quite a lot of whistles for Gerard Piqué. It's true that they clapped him later on, but yeah, I think that transition, the necessary transition has just started, maybe a little bit too late for this Barcelona, as they are virtually out of the Champions League and they lost El Clásico. But the performance of Frenkie de Jong, it hasn't been an easy transition. We must remember in August, it was Frenkie de Jong who was being whistled here at the Camp Nou because he was put on sale. He was asked to cut his salary. He didn't want to do it, and the fan base were angry with him. But today he has proved that he's the better option to be there in the middle of the midfield. For me, Pedri and Gavi should almost always play for this Barcelona. They bring so much energy. And I'm also going to say Ansu Fati because, yeah, both Rafinha and Dembele are really talented players, but he gives that diagonals in the middle that probably they don't do that much. It was fresh air. 5 changes from the big El Clásico, and it was such a much more solid performance from Barcelona. Of course, Villarreal, it might not be Real Madrid, but it was a very solid game from Xavi's squad.
I'm aware that it's very late out there, Gemma. One last question. How's Robbo's mood been tonight?
Very well, I think.
My mood is always good, Gemma. And how can it be?
He always behaves.
How could I ever be in a bad mood? I've watched a good game of football. I've watched Barcelona play some magnificent football in the first. 80,000 people here. I'm standing next to Gemma Soler. The only downside, I have to talk to you, Dan. That's the only downside.
Yeah, we can sort this out, though.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Like,
you don't even have to do that
Bring
anymore
back Kay
now.
Murray,
Thank you very
always
much,
forgiven.
Robbo. Thank you very much, Gemma. Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.